Hello, welcome to a quick demo of a basic figure drawing. I'm using Conte sticks on A3 size paper and a picture as my subject. I mark off the top and bottom extent of the paper where the future figure will be accommodated. Then the midline, the midpoint of these extents. Then I roughly indicate where in the figure this midpoint would lie. This is mostly near the pubic bone. Then I find out how many head heights the top half of the figure will accommodate, and I draw a rough oval to indicate the head. Since this is not a portraiture tutorial, I won't be going into the details of the head measurements, the spatial relationships of the eyes and nose and mouth, etc. This is only to give me a very basic idea of the structure of the head. And then I'll be drawing the neck, being mindful of the two prominent neck muscles, the sternocleidomastoid muscles, which descend like the two limbs of a V to get attached in midline at the top of the breastbone. That is one muscle. And there is the other one. Since the head is turned towards the right, the muscle on the left will be more prominent. So I should be mindful of these structures, otherwise the head won't seem to be properly connected to the torso. And then I get an idea of the tilt of the shoulder. Now this pose has the female standing with her arms at the back of her head. So using the head as a level reference, I find out the point of the elbow. Very rough drawing, but at the same time I'm mindful of the volume, the shoulder muscle, and then that line indicates the edge of the pectoralis major, and that bulge indicates muscles coming from the back. Then this will give me an idea of the vertical extent of the thoracic cage. The actual extent is slightly below that, but I'm drawing it more or less up to the level of the 9th or 10th rib. Then this is the other hand. I'm drawing overlapping forms, connecting these forms so that I'm mindful of the 3D geometry of that area and not just following the flat contour, flat shape line, because this is really an illusion of a 3D figure on a 2D plane and not just a depiction of the outline, flat 2D outline. So in any case, I'm using the Conte as a tool to mentally draw plumb lines from structures above to find out structures which lie immediately below. So I've used the plumb to find out the location of the navel, and then there are soft tissues around the navel which I have delineated. I'm finding out the anterior end of the pelvic crest. There is the outline of the vest which is flaring outwards to accommodate the expanded pelvis of the female. There is a bit of compression at that point, and here is the anterior end of the pelvic crest, and I have just drawn its counterpart on the other side. This gap between the end of the lower end of the thoracic cage and the anterior spine of the pelvis on the left side would be filled up by flesh, and depending on how fleshy the subject is, the shape will vary. Now here I have found a plane between the two spines on which will lie the pubic bone. So it's like this rectangular region on which the pubic bone in the midline and the two spines on either end lie. This line I have drawn to indicate the left leg, that is the heel of the left leg. I'll be drawing the toes later on, that is the knee. This is the main weight bearing limb, and the bulge of the extensor muscles, that is the muscles on the anterior aspect, indicate that the knee is being prevented from buckling because it's bearing the weight of the person. The leg must stand straight. So these are little soft tissue bulging up, or bunching up rather, at the top of the knee. All the time I'm aware of the volume of the leg, which is what I draw with those little cylindrical structures. So I haven't drawn the toe of the left foot right now, which I'll be adding later on. The next thing that I'm looking to draw is the locate the knee of the right leg. So again I have dropped plumbs from the top. There I have just indicated the toe of the left leg and then the knee of the right leg by dropping plumbs. That round structure gives me an idea of the volume of the thigh. So this is the knee. This leg is slightly bent forwards, and then at the ankle it is overlapping the ankle of the left leg. So the foot is pointed vertically downwards. I'm taking some care to draw the bulge of the calf muscles on the right leg. These two legs are one in front of another, but while drawing I must be mindful of one leg at a time. Trying to draw both at the same time would only confuse me as regards the structure. As you can see, this is just a basically an outline which I'm drawing while being mindful of the volume. So I'm just indicating the volume with this little darker shade on the under surface of the right thigh and buttock area, just to give me an idea of the turn of the thigh. And this is the back of the leg behind. The bulge of the muscles on the inner aspect of that leg near the knee. The figure is The main part of the figure is finished. I'll be just indicating the toe here on the left leg. Not much else to draw, but I'll be going over the figure one last time and checking out details here and there. You'll have noticed that I haven't yet drawn the breasts, which are soft tissues. So if you start with the soft tissues, it might lead you astray. So it's always wiser to draw the hard tissue first, and then within the context of that hard tissue you can later on draw the soft tissue. Here I have located the right nipple using that vertical plumb rule I have described before. Now I can safely draw the outline of the breasts once I have drawn the chest structure. One can go on adding details and details, but that is not part of this demo. Maybe in a future longer demo I'll be doing that. Those are the little bulges, all of which mean something, all of which indicate a definite structure, a muscle or a bony contour which lies there. So it's not like a mechanical following of the outline, but understanding, interpreting the structure of this very living human form, where every bulge, every furrow has a meaning, and it changes with change in pose and with gravitational pull, etc. So unless I'm mindful of that, I would be ending up drawing just an inert representation and not an interpretation which you have actively perceived using your intelligence and your learning and your powers of observation. The skills to do all this develop by practice, but one must always be aware of what one is drawing. That is what gives that extra edge to your work. So I'm just tinkering around. There's nothing much else to draw now. Thank you for watching this demo. Maybe those are the little bulges indicating the muscles of the upper arm. Here is an area of compression between near the flexure point, and then the biceps muscle and the deltoid, the contour of the rib cage, the area where the hip and the flesh is squeezed between the hip and the chest. So that is it, and here you can see the figure from the front, and on the right there is the rough outline I have drawn earlier. Thank you for watching.